Hey there. Ready for a deep dive?
Always.
Okay, great. Today we're going where science fiction and reality get a little blurry, a little fuzzy.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, so we're looking at this connection between science fiction and UFO sightings.
Huh?
We're going to be looking at this through the lens of a book from 1978.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Science fiction, it's soucoupes volantes. It's by Bertrand Meheust.
Okay.
And basically, it's exploring this connection between sci-fi and how we see UFOs.
Okay.
So, a book from the 70s about UFOs, you might be thinking like, really?
Yeah.
But trust me, this is way more than just a history lesson.
Okay.
Meheust's argument is that how we see UFOs has actually changed alongside technology and our culture. So our imagination is kind of a two-way street
Okay.
where science fiction is reflecting and shaping how we see the unexplained.
Interesting.
Yeah, so did science fiction actually predict or influence UFOs?
Ah, that's a great question.
I know, right?
So what's really fascinating here is how Meheust starts his book. He compares researching UFOs to trying to empty the sea with a teaspoon.
Oh, wow.
So it really gets at the vastness and complexity of this whole UFO phenomenon.
Yeah.
But instead of getting lost in all the little details in individual cases, he focuses on the bigger picture.
Okay.
How our ideas about what's, quote, out there are influenced by the stories we tell ourselves,
Okay.
especially in science fiction.
So you're saying that those old sci-fi stories about flying saucers and little green men actually had an influence on how people interpreted real-life UFO sightings?
Yeah, it's a bit of both, actually.
Yeah.
Think about those early 20th century sci-fi illustrations with these elaborate machines mandala, these circular airships covered in gears and ornamentation.
Oh, yeah?
They were grounded in the technology of the time, like airships, but pushed it to fantastical extremes.
Yeah, totally. It's like steampunk. All those gears and gadgets, that Victorian era flair, it has this retro futuristic vibe that captures a specific moment in time when technology was exciting but also kind of mysterious.
And Meheust actually points out that some of these early sci-fi descriptions, even though they were written before the term flying saucer even existed, they eerily predicted details of later UFO sightings.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's as if those stories were tapping into a collective unconscious.
Hold on. Collective unconscious. What's that? Can you explain that a little more for our listener and how it might apply to UFOs?
Sure, yeah. You can think of it as like a reservoir of shared symbols and ideas that we all tap into, even if we're not aware of it.
Okay, yeah.
These symbols appear in myths and dreams and religions.
Yeah.
And yes, even science fiction. They represent these deep-seated anxieties, desires, and ways of understanding the world around us. So when people see something unusual in the sky, their minds might reach for these pre-existing images to make sense of it.
Oh, so instead of just seeing a random light or an object, they might interpret it as a spaceship or a flying saucer, because that's what their minds are primed to see.
Exactly.
Okay.
And Meheust takes this even a step further.
Okay.
He argues that UFO sightings themselves aren't just random occurrences.
Yeah.
They often reflect anxieties and scientific breakthroughs of their time, like a mirror held up to our collective psyche.
So he's basically saying that what people see in the sky, what they report as UFOs, it's not just some random thing. It's actually connected to what's happening in society at the time.
Yeah, that's a pretty bold claim.
Yeah. So how does he support that? Does he break down these UFO encounters into different types?
He does. He outlines three main categories.
Okay.
Machines mandala, which we just talked about,
Yeah.
luminous phenomena, and metamorphoses and fusions.
Okay, so three different categories.
Yeah.
And each category reflects a different way of engaging with the unknown.
Each has its own set of parallels with science fiction.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So let's dive into those other categories and see what kinds of connections we can make. What are luminous phenomena? How do they differ from those more tangible machines mandala?
So while machines mandala are grounded in familiar technology, even if taken to fantastical extremes, luminous phenomena move into a realm of more mystical and inexplicable experiences.
Okay.
We're talking beams of light, glowing orbs, things that are harder to explain with conventional science.
Yeah.
Think about how often you see those kinds of images in stories about supernatural beings or in depictions of advanced alien technology.
That's true. Those glowing lights and energy beams, it's practically a staple of sci-fi, especially when it comes to depicting alien encounters.
Exactly. And these images tap into a more primal part of our psyche,
Okay.
our fascination with the unknown,
Yeah.
and the potentially powerful forces that might be at play in the universe.
Right.
It's a shift from the technological wonder of those early machines Vendala towards something more awe-inspiring and potentially even frightening.
Okay, that makes sense. So if machines mandala represent kind of like an optimistic techno-futurism, luminous phenomena seem to embody more of a mystical and even slightly unnerving aspect of the unknown. But what about that third category, metamorphoses and fusions? Those sound pretty wild.
They are. This is where things get really bizarre.
Okay.
We're talking shape-shifting entities, objects appearing and disappearing, reality-bending occurrences that defy our understanding of the physical world.
Wow.
Think about those sci-fi stories that play with like the very fabric of reality, where things aren't always what they seem.
Okay, so this is where we really start to blur the lines between science fiction and those fringe UFO encounters that make you question like everything you thought you knew about reality. I'm ready to hear some examples. What kind of real-life accounts did Meheust uncover that fit into these categories? What are some of the stories that really stood out to you?
Well, there's the tale of a Brazilian farmer who was supposedly disintegrated by a beam of light.
Wait, disintegrated by a beam of light?
And then there's the account of two French farmers who witnessed a luminous tube descend from the sky and leave this weird white substance on the ground.
Okay, and was it ever analyzed, this white substance?
That's the thing with a lot of these accounts. The details are often fuzzy or incomplete. But what's interesting is how they tap into our anxieties about like powerful unknown forces.
Yeah.
Think about it. In the early 20th century, radiation was this new mysterious phenomenon that people were just starting to understand.
So it's not a coincidence that around the same time you start seeing stories about beams of light that can vaporize people, both in science fiction and in these UFO reports. It's like those anxieties were finding an outlet in the stories we told ourselves, both the fictional and the supposedly real ones. What other parallels did you notice between those early sci-fi narratives and the UFO sightings of the time?
Well, there's the story of three French motorists whose car engine stalled in the presence of a UFO. Now, this seems to foreshadow later reports of electromagnetic interference associated with UFO sightings,
Oh, right,
a
right.
theme that also pops up frequently in science fiction.
Right, that whole idea that advanced alien technology could like mess with our electronics, it's practically a trope at this point.
Yeah.
So are you suggesting that those early sci-fi stories weren't just reflecting our anxieties about technology, but they might have also been shaping how we interpreted real-life encounters with the unexplained?
It's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
And Meheust goes even further, suggesting that our collective unconscious might even be influencing the locations and appearances of UFOs,
Okay.
a concept he calls psychic geography.
Okay, now you're really losing me. Psychic geography. What does that even mean? Are you saying that our thoughts can somehow attract UFOs to certain places or influence how they look?
Well, it's more nuanced than that.
Oh, eh?
It's not about, like, consciously summoning UFOs with our minds. But think about it this way. Certain places hold symbolic weight. They carry stories and anxieties that are unique to their history and culture.
Okay, I can see that. Like a battlefield might hold the echoes of violence and trauma even long after the fighting has stopped.
Exactly.
Or an ancient monument might evoke a sense of mystery and the passage of time.
Exactly. And Meheust argues that these psychic landscapes might play a role in shaping UFO encounters. That
Yeah.
the stories we tell ourselves about certain places might somehow become entangled with these unexplained phenomena.
So are you suggesting that the same collective unconscious that influences our science fiction also influences these UFO sightings? That there's some deeper connection between our imagination and the reality of the unknown?
It's a question worth exploring.
Yeah.
And to do that, we need to delve into another major theme that pops up in both sci-fi and UFO lore.
Abduction.
Abductions, right? It's a theme that's both terrifying and endlessly fascinating. We're drawn to these stories, whether they're in, novels like H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds, or in those chilling real-life accounts.
Yeah.
It's like we're trying to confront our deepest fears about the unknown,
Yeah.
about what might happen if we're truly not alone in the
You
universe.
know, you're right. There's something about those abduction stories, those tales of being taken aboard strange craft, uh, subjected to medical experiments,
Hmm.
and then returned with these hazy memories. It really captures the imagination.
Yeah,
It's almost like a primal fear.
right.
This idea of being powerless in the face of like a more advanced intelligence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the similarities between the fictional and the supposedly real accounts are striking. Think about the recurring themes: medical experimentation, memory manipulation, communication difficulties.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if those sci-fi narratives are priming us to expect certain things,
Yeah.
even shaping our interpretations of um, real-life encounters.
So are we talking about like a chicken or the egg situation here?
Yeah.
Did science fiction inspire those real life abduction stories, or are they both tapping into some like deeper shared anxiety about the unknown?
It's a tough question.
Yeah.
Meheust dives into some pretty compelling real-life cases,
It
right?
does, yeah.
One that stands out is the story of a Brazilian Navy ship, the Almirante Saldanha, back in 1958.
Okay.
They were on a research mission when this strange, flattened, disc-shaped object appeared above them.
Okay, so we're talking about a UFO sighting witnessed by a whole crew of Navy personnel. That's not your typical lone witness in the middle of the night kind of story.
Right.
Did they just see it, or was there more to it?
They actually managed to take 6 photographs of the object.
6 photos.
Yeah.
Now that's intriguing. What did they show? Did they ever release those photos to the public?
Well, that's where the story takes a bit of a mysterious turn.
Okay.
The negatives supposedly disappeared after being sent off for analysis.
Of course they did. It wouldn't be a true UFO story without a little bit of mystery and intrigue.
Right.
But even without the photos, the fact that multiple witnesses observed this craft and even felt compelled to document it lends a certain level of credibility to the event.
Yeah.
It's not so easy to dismiss as just a weather balloon or a trick of the light when you have a whole crew corroborating the story.
You know, it reminds me of another case that Méheust discusses.
Okay.
One that reads like a blend of science fiction and a mystical experience.
Okay.
It involves a French author named Maurice Malgret, who back in 1930 witnessed this bizarre event while on a train journey.
Okay, a writer witnessing something strange. I'm all ears. What did he see?
He described this object as a luminous oval-shaped form hovering about 500 meters away.
Okay.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Mager claimed that he could sense the thoughts of this object, describing them as, quote, intelligent plasmas.
Intelligent plasmas. Now, that's a concept you don't hear every day. It sounds like something straight out of, a classic sci-fi novel about sentient energy beings from, like, another dimension.
Yeah, and the timing is what makes it really fascinating. Just a year later, in 1931, John W. Campbell, an American science fiction author, wrote a story about a character who encounters a similar glowing orb that emits intelligent plasma.
Wow, that timing is uncanny.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if Campbell somehow tapped into a collective unconscious, picking up on those themes and images that were already swirling around in our collective imagination. Or if Mager's account, even if it was just a story, somehow influenced Campbell's writing. Talk about blurring the lines between fiction and reality.
It really does. And this interplay between science fiction and real-life UFO encounters continues to pop up throughout Meheust's book.
Yeah.
He talks about these 2 French cultivators in 1968 who saw a cylindrical tube descend from the sky near their village.
Okay.
What's interesting is that their car engine stalled when the object was nearby.
That detail about the engine stalling immediately makes me think of all those modern UFO accounts where people report electromagnetic interference, like their phones going haywire or their car electronics shutting down.
Yeah.
It suggests some kind of advanced technology at work,
Well-
something that can disrupt our own.
Exactly. And this theme of technology disruption is a staple in science fiction. It's almost as if those stories are priming us to expect certain things when we encounter the unexplained.
Right.
It's like our minds are already prepared to see a UFO as a potential source of technological interference.
Right. It's almost like those sci-fi stories have given us a framework for interpreting these events, even if we're not consciously aware of it.
Yeah.
Meheust brings up another event that sounds like it was pulled right from a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
Tell me about the incident in Rubaida, Tunisia.
Okay, this one's from 1967. Witnesses describe a large, cigar-shaped metallic object landing in a field near this Tunisian town.
Okay.
The most bizarre part,
Okay.
they claim the object seemed to, quote, melt into the ground.
Melt into the ground. That sounds less like a spaceship and more like some kind of interdimensional being or a shape-shifting robot.
You know, it's interesting how often those seemingly fantastical details pop up in both science fiction and UFO accounts.
Yeah.
This idea that these objects aren't bound by the same physical laws that we are.
Right.
That they can appear and disappear at will. It just further blurs the lines between what's real and what's imagined.
Yeah, it's like our collective unconscious is creating these narratives, these archetypes that then manifest in these real-world experiences.
Right.
Are you saying that our expectations shaped by science fiction are influencing what people think they see when they encounter something unusual?
That's certainly a question worth considering.
Yeah.
And it ties into another theme that Méheust explores, the idea of invisibility.
Okay.
He points to a 1946 sighting near Scandinavia that made headlines at the time.
Okay.
It involved a large luminous object that seemed to flicker in and out of visibility.
Okay, invisibility. Now that's a classic sci-fi trope, right?
Right.
Is there something about the timing of this sighting that makes it particularly interesting?
This event happened just as radar technology was becoming more widely known.
Okay.
It was this new way of, quote, seeing things that were previously invisible.
So is it possible that this new technology, which allowed us to perceive things in a different way, somehow influenced our understanding of UFOs?
That's what Méheust suggests.
Okay.
As our scientific understanding evolves, it's only natural for those advancements to influence how we interpret the unknown.
Right.
We're constantly updating our framework for understanding reality.
Yeah.
And those updates are often reflected in the stories we tell ourselves,
Yep.
both in fiction and in those accounts of unexplained phenomena.
You know, that makes a lot of sense. It's like our understanding of what's possible is always expanding, and those expansions are often reflected in the stories we tell. Meheust also talks about how those early machines mandala seem to have evolved alongside real-world aviation advancements, right?
Absolutely.
Sure.
In the early days of flight, a lot of science fiction featured these really elaborate airships with all these complex designs, multiple propellers, intricate ornamentation.
Yeah.
Almost like something out of a steampunk fantasy.
And as aviation technology advanced, those fictional flying machines became sleeker and more streamlined, just like real-world aircraft were becoming more sophisticated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not surprising that our imaginations would be influenced by the technology we see developing around us.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if those early sci-fi depictions of complex flying machines might have even influenced the evolution of real-world aircraft design,
Right.
even in a subconscious way, like a feedback loop between imagination and reality.
It's a fascinating thought.
Yeah.
And it highlights this constant back and forth between the two. We draw inspiration from the world around us to create fictional narratives, and then those narratives in turn can influence how we perceive and interact with the world.
Speaking of that back and forth, Meheust points out that the behavior of UFOs, as described in both sci-fi and real-life accounts, often goes beyond just flying from point A to point B.
Yeah.
It's the unpredictable movements,
Yeah.
the sudden changes in direction, the almost playful way some of these objects seem to maneuver that really captures people's attention.
Right, they're not just flying straight lines.
Yeah.
They're zigzagging, hovering, accelerating rapidly, then stopping abruptly.
Right.
It's almost as if they're intentionally trying to challenge our expectations of how a physical object should move.
And you see this reflected in science fiction all the time.
Yeah.
Alien spacecraft are often depicted as incredibly nimble and agile, capable of performing maneuvers that would be impossible for any Earth-based aircraft.
It's like our imaginations are pushing the boundaries of what's physically possible, and then those ideas, in turn, influence how we interpret real-life sightings.
Right.
And the fact that these reports come from such a diverse range of sources,
Yeah.
from pilots to everyday citizens
Yeah.
across different cultures and time periods, well, it makes you wonder if there might be something more to these accounts than just misidentified aircraft or weather phenomena.
There's definitely a pattern here, a common thread running through these narratives that points to something extraordinary.
Yeah.
Meheust highlights a 1934 UFO sighting over Stockholm,
Okay.
where the witness described the object as, quote, maneuvering in a peculiar way, first rising, then stopping, and then repeating the motion.
That's fascinating because just a few years earlier, in 1922, a French science fiction author named Paul Devois wrote a story about, quote, perfect airplane that could hover in one spot and move in a jerky, unpredictable way.
Again, we see that same pattern of science fiction either predicting or mirroring real-life UFO encounters. It's like there's this dialogue happening between the two. This cross-pollination of ideas and imagery. Meheust also mentions those three French motorists whose car engine stalled while in the presence of a UFO back in 1947.
Right, and this account is particularly interesting because it foreshadowed those later reports of electromagnetic interference associated with UFO sightings.
Yeah.
The idea that these objects could disrupt the functioning of technology was still a pretty novel concept at the time.
But as our understanding of electromagnetism and advanced technology has evolved, those details have become more common in UFO reports.
It really highlights the evolving nature of our perception of the unknown.
Yeah.
As our scientific knowledge expands, so do the boundaries of what we consider possible.
Meheust also digs into some intriguing cases involving UFOs appearing alongside those luminous phenomena we discussed earlier, creating a really captivating blend of science fiction and reality. He brings up one example from a 1978 issue of the French publication, Lumière dans la nuit, which translates to lights in the night.
Yes, Lights in the Night. A publication known for its exploration of unexplained phenomena, particularly those related to UFOs.
Okay.
It's full of fascinating accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This particular account involves three motorists driving in the French countryside at night when their engine suddenly stalls.
Okay.
And then they see this large, dark mass in the sky. And from this mass, a beam of light descends towards the ground.
That engine stalling detail pops up again, almost like it's become a recurring motif in these types of encounters.
It definitely makes you think, like, it's hinting at some kind of technological interaction.
Yeah.
A disruption of our world by these unknown forces.
Precisely. It's a theme that's often explored in science fiction.
Yeah.
We see it in those stories about alien spacecraft that can manipulate energy fields, disrupt communications, even control human minds.
Right.
It's like those fictional narratives are prepping us for the possibility of encountering advanced technology beyond our current comprehension.
Speaking of those sci-fi themes playing out in real life, what about that famous case in Volantes, France, the one where there was supposed to be physical trace evidence left behind?
Ah, yes, the Volantes case
Yeah.
from 1965, a classic in ufology. A farmer claimed he saw a cigar-shaped object land in his lavender field.
Okay.
And when investigators arrived, they found these strange marks on the ground and evidence suggesting that the soil had been dehydrated.
Dehydrated soil.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely suggests some kind of energy emission, right? Like something with a powerful heat source landed there.
That's one interpretation. And while some might attribute those traces to natural phenomena, for many, the Valençol case remains one of the most compelling pieces of evidence for a genuine UFO landing.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain those physical changes in the environment without considering the possibility of something truly unusual happening.
You know, we've been talking a lot about the objects themselves, the flying saucers, the beings of light. But what about the beings that are often associated with UFO sightings? The humanoids, Meheust dives into those descriptions as well, right?
He does. And what's fascinating is how the descriptions of these beings are as varied as the UFOs themselves.
Yeah.
And those variations often reflect the cultural anxieties and scientific advancements of the time.
So are you saying that the way people imagine aliens has changed over time?
Yeah.
Who so?
Think about it. In the early 20th century, humanoids were often described as small and dwarf-like, with large heads and piercing eyes. This was around the same time that people were just starting to grapple with the concept of radiation and its potential effects on the human body.
So they were projecting their anxieties about this new invisible force onto the unknown, imagining these grotesque mutated beings.
Right.
It's like those fears found an outlet in the descriptions of alien visitors.
Exactly. And as our scientific understanding progressed, those descriptions of humanoids changed as well.
What kinds of changes did Meheust observe?
By the mid-20th century, as genetics and space exploration became more prominent, those dwarf-like creatures were gradually replaced by taller, more human-looking beings, often with advanced technology and seemingly superior intellect.
That shift is interesting. It's like our understanding of our place in the universe was evolving, and with it, our image of what an alien being might look like. It went from something monstrous and deformed to something more advanced and even, dare I say, aspirational.
Meheust points to some specific cases that illustrate this shift. In the 1920s, there was a story about a small, childlike humanoid spotted near a UFO landing in France. They described this being as having large eyes, no visible nose or mouth, and a, quote, frightening appearance.
That description really aligns with those early 20th century fears about radiation and the unknown.
Right.
It's like the unknown was being personified as this small, grotesque being, something both alien and disturbing.
Right.
A far cry from those sleek, intellectual aliens we often see in sci-fi movies today.
And then you have cases like the one from 1968 where a young boy in France claimed to have seen a tall humanoid emerge from a landed UFO. This one had a stiff posture, long arms, and no visible facial features.
Quite a different image, isn't it?
It is. And it speaks that theme of the humanoid as an emotionless, almost robotic entity.
Right, right.
And this idea of the alien as a cold, calculating observer becomes even more prominent in later UFO accounts.
Yeah.
Particularly those involving alleged abductions.
Right.
That's true. Those narratives often portray the humanoids as detached and emotionless, more focused on scientific observation than any kind of emotional connection. It's a chilling thought, but it also taps into that fascination with the unknown that we were talking about earlier.
It certainly does, and it makes you wonder about the motives behind those encounters, what those interactions might really be about.
Yeah.
It's a question that lies at the heart of the UFO mystery, and as long as those encounters remain unexplained, our imaginations will continue to fill in the blanks.
Okay, so we talked about the objects, the lights, the humanoids. Now let's get back to those abduction narratives.
Meheust highlights those recurring themes that appear in both science fiction and real-life accounts, right?
Right.
What are some of the key themes he focuses on?
One of the most common themes is medical experimentation.
Okay.
Humanoids are often portrayed as being fascinated by human physiology. Think about those scenes in sci-fi movies where the aliens are poking and prodding humans, taking samples.
Right.
Trying to understand how our bodies work.
It's like they're scientists, but from another world with their own methods and motivations.
Yeah.
And it taps into one of our deepest fears about the unknown, right? That idea of being probed, examined, and experimented on by beings we don't understand. It's a terrifying concept that's been explored in countless stories, and it continues to haunt us.
Those stories often serve as cautionary tales.
Yeah.
About the potential dangers of encountering advanced alien civilizations.
Yeah.
It's almost as if we're using fiction to uh, prepare ourselves for the possibility of the unimaginable becoming real.
So are you saying that those sci-fi stories might actually be shaping our expectations of what an alien encounter might entail?
Hmm.
That if we ever did come face to face with extraterrestrials, we might react in certain ways because of the stories we've been exposed to?
That's certainly a possibility worth considering.
Yeah,
How much of our perception of reality is influenced by the stories we consume,
right.
even if we don't consciously believe them?
Yeah.
It's a question that gets at the very nature of how we construct meaning and understanding.
Meheust points to the Betty and Barney Hill abduction case from 1961
Hmm.
as a prime example of how these themes of medical experimentation and memory manipulation have become central to our understanding of the abduction phenomenon.
Right.
What makes that case so significant?
The Hill case was one of the first widely publicized abduction accounts,
Hmm.
introduced those concepts to a broader audience.
Mm.
And it's not surprising that those themes have resonated so deeply in popular culture.
Yeah.
Their story, with its details of being taken aboard a strange craft, subjected to medical procedures,
Right.
and then having their memories wiped clean, it became a blueprint for countless abduction narratives that followed.
It's like they opened a door to a new realm of possibility, a
Right.
world where the boundaries between reality and nightmare could become terrifyingly blurred.
Yeah.
And once that door was open, it was hard to close it again.
Right.
Those themes of abduction, medical experimentation, and memory manipulation, they've become ingrained in our collective consciousness.
And those themes continue to fascinate and terrify us in equal measure.
Yeah.
As long as those encounters remain unexplained,
Yeah.
the mystery of UFO abductions will continue to grip our collective imagination.
Right.
It's like we're drawn to the darkness even as we fear it.
Meheust also explores this recurring theme of communication difficulties
Mm-hmm.
in UFO abduction accounts, which really highlights the alienness of these encounters, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's one thing to imagine an alien being, but it's another thing entirely to try to communicate with one.
And those communication barriers might be due to a whole range of factors.
Yeah.
Differences in language, technology,
Uh,
even consciousness itself. We might be encountering beings that perceive reality in a fundamentally different way than we do,
Right.
beings that operate on different wavelengths, so to speak.
Right.
And that's a concept that's been explored extensively in science fiction.
Think about those classic first contact stories
Yeah.
where humans and aliens are trying to communicate through gestures, symbols, even music. It's a reminder that even if we were to encounter intelligent life beyond Earth, establishing meaningful communication could be an incredibly complex and challenging endeavor.
Those stories highlight the potential difficulties of interstellar diplomacy,
Right.
of bridging the vast gulf that might separate us from other intelligent beings.
Yeah.
It's a humbling thought, and it makes you wonder if we're truly ready for such an encounter.
Meheust brings up the 1973 abduction case of a young Brazilian man, Carlos da Silva.
Mm-hmm.
As an example of these communication challenges, da Silva claimed to have been taken aboard a UFO
Okay.
and encountered beings who communicated with him through telepathy.
Telepathy is a recurring theme in both science fiction and UFO accounts, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It speaks to this idea that these beings might possess abilities that are far beyond our current understanding.
Right.
They might be able to tap into our minds directly, bypassing the need for language or technology as we know it.
It's like they exist on a different plane of consciousness,
Mhm.
one that allows them to transcend the limitations of physical form and conventional communication. And it raises all sorts of questions about the nature of consciousness itself.
Right.
If these beings can communicate telepathically, what does that tell us about the potential capabilities of the human mind?
It's a mystery that continues to intrigue researchers and enthusiasts alike.
Yeah.
It's like a glimpse into a realm of possibilities that we can barely comprehend.
Meheust also discusses the case of Pier Zanfretta, an Italian security guard who claimed to have multiple encounters with humanoid beings starting in 1978. What makes his case stand out?
Zanfretta's accounts are particularly bizarre because he described these beings as wearing strange helmets and communicating in a language that he couldn't understand.
It's like a mashup of science fiction
Yeah.
tropes, the strange, technologically advanced beings,
Hmm.
and the insurmountable language barrier.
Right.
And what about that classic sci-fi theme of time distortion? Does that pop up in Zanfretta's story or any of the other cases Meheust examines?
Zanfretta actually claimed to have experienced missing time during those encounters.
A classic hallmark of abduction narratives, right?
Yes.
Like he was transported to another dimension, or his perception of time was somehow altered. It's
Mhm.
like stepping into one of those time travel stories where the rules of reality are bent and twisted.
Right.
Are there any other cases that touch on this idea of time distortion or altered states of consciousness?
One of the most well-known cases that involves missing time and a potential UFO encounter is the Travis Walton case from 1975.
Okay.
Walton was a logger in Arizona who disappeared for 5 days after his coworkers claimed to have witnessed him
Uh-huh.
being abducted by a UFO.
This is the case that was turned into a movie, right?
Hmm.
Fire in the Sky. The one that scared the living daylights out of me when I was a kid.
That's the one. It became a media sensation,
Hmm.
and it really captured that sense of terror and mystery that surrounds the abduction phenomenon.
So Walton reappears 5 days later with no memory of what happened. Does he ever regain those memories? Does he offer any explanation for where he was or what he experienced during that missing time?
That's the thing. He maintains that he was abducted,
Yeah.
but he can't offer any concrete proof. It becomes a question of belief.
Yeah.
Do you believe his story,
Yeah.
or do you chalk it up to a hoax or some kind of elaborate psychological episode?
It's those cases, the ones that defy easy explanations, that
Hmm.
really make you think. They challenge our understanding of what's possible,
Hmm.
and they make us confront those deep-seated fears about the unknown. You know, it's striking how many parallels we've been able to draw between science fiction and real-life UFO accounts. It makes you wonder if Meheust is onto something with his idea that there's this subconscious dialogue happening between our imaginations and the reality of the unknown.
It's a compelling idea, isn't it?
It is.
That science fiction is more than just entertainment. It's a way of exploring the boundaries of our understanding, of grappling with those profound questions about our place in the universe.
So are you saying that those sci-fi stories are not just reflecting our hopes and fears,
Hmm.
but they're also shaping how we perceive and interpret real-life experiences,
Right.
especially those that deal with the unexplained?
I think it's a definite possibility. We're storytelling creatures. And those stories, even the fictional ones, have a powerful influence on how we make sense of the world around us.
And as our exploration of the cosmos continues and we push the boundaries of science and technology further and further, who knows what new mysteries and wonders await us. It's an exciting time to be alive, but it's also a time of great uncertainty. And perhaps that's why we're so drawn to these stories of UFOs and alien encounters. They offer a glimpse into the vast unknown, and they challenge us to expand our understanding of what's possible.
You know, it's interesting how Meheust doesn't just focus on the similarities between science fiction and UFO encounters. He also delves into how our perception of these phenomena has evolved over time.
So it's not just about the stories themselves, but about how those stories fit into a larger cultural context, how our understanding of what's possible, what's, quote, out there has shifted alongside our scientific advancements and our anxieties about the future.
Exactly. He argues that what might seem strange or inexplicable to us today could have seemed perfectly natural a century ago.
Mm.
Our concept of, quote, alien is constantly being redefined as we learn more about the universe.
Yeah.
And science fiction plays a key role in that process.
It's like science fiction gives us a framework for imagining the possibilities, for pushing the boundaries of what we consider real.
Think about those early UFO sightings back in the late 19th and early 20th centuries.
Okay.
Many of those accounts aligned with the prevailing scientific theories and technological advancements of that era.
Like during the heyday of airships and early aviation, people were seeing cigar-shaped objects or large disc-like craft that resembled those early flying machines.
It makes sense, right? People were projecting their understanding of the known world onto the unknown. And those early sci-fi stories about airships and fantastical flying machines provided a template for interpreting these strange aerial phenomena.
It's like we're always looking for ways to make sense of the world around us, and those stories, those narratives, provide a framework for understanding the things that we can't easily explain.
Moist argues that those early UFO accounts often reflected a sense of technological wonder and optimism. It was a time when humanity was pushing the boundaries of what was possible, and those advancements were often seen as signs of progress.
I can see that. There was a sense of excitement about the potential of technology to improve our lives, to solve our problems, to take us to new frontiers.
And that optimism was reflected in early science fiction, too. Think about those stories about voyages to the moon, about futuristic cities with flying cars and advanced robots. It was a time of great hope and excitement about the future.
And that sense of wonder, that belief in progress, it seems to have carried over into those early accounts of UFO encounters. People weren't necessarily afraid of those strange objects in the sky. They were more curious, intrigued by the possibilities they represented.
But as the 20th century progressed, things started to change. Humanity experienced the horrors of two world wars.
Yeah.
The development of nuclear weapons, the growing awareness of environmental destruction, that optimism about technology began to fade.
And those anxieties, those fears about the future, they started to show up in both the science fiction and UFO accounts.
Absolutely. Science fiction became darker, more dystopian. It started to explore the potential dangers of unchecked technological advancement.
And those cigar-shaped objects and fantastical flying machines and UFO reports were gradually replaced by more ominous craft, often described as metallic, silent, and behaving in ways that defied our understanding of physics.
Those UFOs became symbols of the unknown, of potential threats that lurked beyond our control.
Right.
And those fears were amplified by the Cold War paranoia. The constant threat of nuclear annihilation, the growing distrust of government secrecy.
It's like our collective unconscious was projecting those anxieties onto the unknown, creating narratives that reflected our deepest fears about the future. So if our perception of UFOs has been so heavily influenced by our cultural anxieties and our evolving understanding of technology, what does that say about the current surge in UFO interest? Are we seeing a return to that earlier sense of wonder and optimism, or are we still grappling with those Cold War fears and anxieties?
It's a complex question, and there's no easy answer. But what's clear is that our fascination with UFOs hasn't faded. If anything, it seems to be intensifying.
Maybe it's because we're living in a time of unprecedented technological change with artificial intelligence, gene editing, and space exploration, all pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible.
And at the same time, we're facing existential challenges,
Yeah.
like climate change and global instability. It's no wonder we're looking to the skies, searching for answers, for signs of something beyond ourselves.
Meheust's exploration of the UFO phenomenon through the lens of science fiction offers a really insightful perspective. It highlights the power of stories to shape our understanding of the world, and it reminds us that our perception of reality is constantly evolving.
It also invites invites us to consider the possibility that those stories, those narratives that we create might be more than just figments of our imagination. They might be glimpses into other realities, other dimensions, other ways of being.
So as we continue to explore the mysteries of the universe, we could keep in mind the power of our own imaginations.
Hmm.
The stories we tell ourselves about the unknown can both reflect and shape our reality. And who knows, maybe those stories will eventually lead us to a deeper understanding of our place in the cosmos.
Meheust leaves us with a thought-provoking question.
Okay.
He asks, if UFO sightings are, at least in part, a reflection of our evolving understanding of the universe, what does the current surge in UFO interest tell us about our collective psyche?
That's a great question to leave our listeners with. As we wrap up this deep dive, we encourage you to ponder that question. What does our fascination with UFOs, with the possibility of extraterrestrial life, reveal about our hopes, our fears, and our longing for something beyond the familiar? Perhaps the answers lie not just in the skies above, but also within ourselves, in the stories we tell and the mysteries we embrace.